You know, recently I've found myself disliking a specific type of character in anime. Hell, actually, maybe recently is the wrong word. I think I've secretly always disliked this breed of character. Intelligent characters. Characters like Kirito, Tatsuya, Shiro, and other characters who are frankly too smart for their own good. To the point where sometimes it can really hurt the story or the world that they are in. I just kind of find myself always wishing for more shows to be like Re-Dive. Re-Dive was one of those anime I was really skeptical about this season. I decided to give the first episode a try and it really left me with a mixed opinion. The protagonist, who, by the way, is completely unnamed, is what I like to call a walking liability. The anime is your classic isekai where the protagonist forgot all about his previous life, with the catch-22 being that they weren't kidding when they said he forgot everything. He doesn't understand language, he doesn't know what food is, he literally remembers nothing and is just a complete moron, which is golden. However, the reason I initially left the first episode skeptical was because there's an ex machina-like scene that happens at the end of it, where it appears as though he got all of his memories back. However, it is revealed in the next episode that he just didn't get his memories back and it was actually someone else who came in and saved their asses. This show basically rides on that as its premise. He just slowly builds a group of adorable female characters whose job it is to make sure that he doesn't die. Which, by the way, is a hell of a task. It's kind of like a babysitting anime, but this is kind of my point. Imagine if this anime made the character like him, but actually smart or strong or competent in some specific way. The plotline would probably become extremely simple. Oh no, character gets in bad situation and protagonist Kun comes in and just saves the day with his special power, his wit or strength or whatever. It's boring, it's generic, and frankly, so many shows do this that it's a total cop-out at this point. Having a smart protagonist often leads to a pretty boring and predictable storyline. And before you guys go, wait, but insert anime here has a smart protagonist and it's great. I'm getting there, okay? Just please let me set up my argument first. Jesus, you guys are just all so impatient with me. Having a dumb protagonist is a great way to challenge your writing or even your character building. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend you guys try it sometime. If any of you play D&D, I challenge you guys to make a character who is dumb and then play him or her in that way. Whenever a situation occurs, try not to ask yourself what you would do and try to think of what that character would do and the lack of forethought they would have and problem-solving skills they would have, and just see the ridiculous amount of shenanigans you would get into. I mean, hell, early in the anime, Yui commands a dragon to try and kill the main cast, but the characters are all so stupid, they didn't realize it was her the whole time and were like, oh my god, Yui, that was a close call. Well, either way, thank you for showing us this way to the dragon pit and vanishing during the fight. You deserve a cut of all the gold we made from it. It's stupid, but it's a great way to get all of your characters into crazy situations that actually make sense, while also forcing the writers to come up with clever ways to write the characters out. Whether that be using your protagonist as literal live bait, or breaking into a perfectly normal hospital, quote unquote, to break your friend out because you didn't realize the first time all the bloody handprints over the walls. Or, I mean, you can just kill them, but that's more so just D&D. I'm sorry, but this anime just shows how much fun it is to create a cast of complete morons, then give them a nameless NPC to babysit who's even dumber, and see if they can even survive. You know what this show kind of reminds me of? But you guys probably already know because you could see it in the thumbnail. It kind of reminds me of the philosophy that governs Konosuba. Now, to be fair, Kazuma isn't a walking liability similar to the protagonist of Re-Dive, because that's Aqua's job. But this show once again takes a group of complete degenerate morons and forces them to work together, or at least try to. And the situations they get themselves into by just being themselves is what makes this anime one of the funniest isekai out there. I mean, God, that episode in season 2 where Aqua finds out that she has a cult and mistakenly thinks that they will worship her, and it almost gets everyone killed. These shows force the writers to come up with clever techniques to get these idiotic characters out of these terrible situations. And a lot of the time, that's half the fun of the show. Watching a bunch of idiotic characters come together and form some half-baked plan that sort of works. Whereas, of course, with shows where the protagonist is smart, they'll just magically snap their finger and all of a sudden they are Jesus bringing everyone back to life. I'm sorry. It's just that the ending to The Irregular at Magical High School still pisses me off to this day. But you know, that is kind of my point. A lot of the times, it's easy for these characters to solve these problems because, frankly, all they need to do is some basic critical thinking. And so then the writers try to add in all these bullshit blockades to try to slow the progress of the protagonist just to pad out the show. Unless, of course, it's just pure power fantasy, and in that case, they just blow through everything. So does that mean all smart characters are bad? Of course not. See, I told you guys earlier I'd be getting to this point. There are a lot of anime with smart protagonists that are cleverly written. But in order to have a smart protagonist, you need to properly weigh something against them to keep the suspense in the show. Now, you can make it to where the antagonist is just as smart, or there is some huge disadvantage the character has to overcome. For instance, sorry, but now you guys are gonna finally see why I hate The Irregular Magical Heist so much. Initially, this character was clearly super intelligent. However, his magical abilities were straight up trash, to the point where even when he was accepted into a magic school, they put him essentially in the B-tier classes. He was only ever able to defeat any of his opponents by being multiple steps ahead of them, never by just merely overpowering them. But then his sister released his true magical potential and he basically became Jesus, and frankly, the show went to shit from there. I mean, there's plenty of other good examples of smart characters in anime. I mean, Death Note is a prime example since both the protagonists and the antagonists of the shows are geniuses. Same thing with Kaguya-sama. Both of the two competing characters are super intelligent and are both completely overthinking everything. But there is just one type of character I want to cover last. Characters who initially start off stupid and then become smarter over time. This can still lead to having very similar problems to having smart characters in the anime, but it gives more room for character development. And my favorite is, no surprises, Shigure Aki from My Hero Academia. The anime starts off with him as basically a complete moron. However, as the anime goes on and on, the character of Shigure Aki evolves into a smarter person. He begins to understand how to work with his teammates, make complex plans, and has motives behind each of his actions. He is probably one of my favorite anime villains of all time. However, My Hero parallels him with Midoriya, a character who was in a similar state of ignorance at the beginning of the anime and begins to understand more and more throughout. In other words, the way they solve that problem is that they have two characters of similar intelligence levels rising and meeting each other at each checkpoint, basically. That was a horrible explanation, but I think you guys still get the point. I'm not gonna lie, this video went down an oddly specific path I didn't actually expect it to go. But let me just try to compress all of this into one complete thought for the final paragraph. Smart characters can, but not always, lead to bland writing. The addition of stupid characters into anime forces them into bad situations where the writers have to make smart decisions to help them escape. That's kind of how stupid anime characters can make for some smart anime. For as much as I went through, that's actually a pretty good conclusion. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and a huge thank you to all of you. I have received so much support and love ever since I announced I went full-time with YouTube. People have been like messaging me and wishing me the best of luck, and I really just appreciate it. I didn't expect that much love from you guys, so thank you all for that. Also, once again, I'm gonna plug my Patreon just because I wanna try to make this monetarily feasible. So if you guys wouldn't mind supporting me on Patreon, it really does make a world of difference, even if it's just $1. A huge thank you to my patrons. You guys are my heroes. Please make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Matt. Make sure you guys stay man and go watch that goddamn anime.